Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this session. We may have a few stragglers coming in, but we need to get started. Want to change the world, then work in super. Can I just check out those of you who are working in super already? Raise your hands. Excellent. Some are, some aren't. But this is really about a conversation to expand and develop people's interest in super within the profession, because there's great opportunity out there. We've got a fantastic panel we're going to hear from shortly: Naomi, Christine, Veronique and Ruby. I'm not going to do their bios, you'll hear from them shortly, but we really want to start a conversation about how as an industry we can develop the passion, how as a profession we can develop the passion for the super industry. So I'll hand over to Ruby now to introduce the first part of the video.
So when we were thinking about this panel session, we thought rather than putting statistics and slides together, let's go and talk to some actuaries who are working in the industry and get their input around how we can make the industry better. So essentially, we got a video that we put together, and here are all the actuaries that we spoke to and got their feedback from. So I just want to thank everyone who participated in this video, and we'll play the video now with the introductions.
Hi, I'm Barry Rafe.
Hi, I'm Melanie Dunn, Senior Manager of Retirement Solutions at Challenger.
Hi, I'm Christine and I'm part of the product team at Spaceship Super.
I'm Douglas Isles and I'm Head of Investment at Platinum Asset Management.
Hi, my name's Andrew Bowl.
Hi, my name is Naomi Edwards and I am Chair of Spirit Super.
My name is Veronique van Wyk. I am the Head of Asset Liability Management at the Australian Retirement Trust.
Hi, my name is Ravindranarayan Kara and I'm the Manager of Product and Innovation, and I run the Innovation Incubator at Spirit Super.
Hi, my name is Trish Donoghue.
Hi, my name is Niharika and I work at Australian Retirement Trust as a Relationship Manager.
So what excites me about my job? Well, I didn't know too much about...
That's that next part of the video.
You've had the introductions now, that saved me doing all that. So Naomi's going to say a few words about the growth of the super industry and a few comments.
Thank you very much, and big thanks to David, who's an absolute luminary of the super industry, for chairing this session. This session is a little different. As David said, it's a conversation, so there's no learned paper. There is a video that we're going to be playing and interspersing through the thing, but most of the time will be for a conversation with you guys. So this is not a new problem. I think for the last 10 years, the Institute and many of us who work in super have been looking at the statistics of people coming through the system and going, gee, it's really interesting that none of the new people, our new members, are electing to study superannuation through us, and everybody is going into life insurance or general insurance or health or whatever. And and there's actually been a lot of discussions about that, but so far we haven't actually cracked the nut and changed it. In fact, despite all of the concern about it, in 2021 we had the incredible situation where 2 people studied the superannuation retirement product versus 150 studying life and 158 studying general insurance. Now, when I heard that, I nearly cried, and everyone's really happy this year because it's gone up to 7 people are going to study superannuation. And I was like, how does that make any sense? And what are we doing wrong in our education or training of people, that the thing that new members coming in are super excited about is working in life insurance and general insurance. Now, none of this is against those areas. Those areas are awesome. But the reason I thought it was surprising was that if you look at influence on the world and and on the planet and on outcomes for people. Just if you look at share of wallet in terms of where our money goes every day as consumers, you know, for the average Australian, super after the house is by far the biggest asset. Every Australian is putting 10% of their income into super. They're not putting 10% into insurance or general insurance or life insurance or health insurance. They're putting 10% into their super. If you look at the trajectory of the size of the super industry, which we all know, versus any other industry in Australia other than tech, it is extraordinary. So, you know, we've gone from a $1 trillion industry to a $2 trillion. We're now a $3.4 trillion industry. We are more than double the size of the Australian GDP. We own through the very large, you know, mega funds, the industry super funds, we own a huge proportion of the ASX. And yet two of our members elected to deeply study, interrogate and understand that thing in order to have a professional qualification to work in it. When you look at some of the activities of the large super funds, such as investments that they're making in artificial intelligence and in biotech and impact investing, they are absolutely exciting, state-of-the-art, planet and game-changing investing. Such exciting things are happening, yet we're not capturing our students. So we thought, is the problem for people coming in? Is the problem with the exam system? Is the problem with demand from the funds that they are not going out to universities and spruiking how great it is to work with them? Or is it all of the above? Or is it that working in super is actually boring? Because it used to be all about DB. So we thought we'd start off by asking some people, well, what do you actually do in a super fund? And none of the people we interviewed work in defined benefits areas. They all work in areas that they'll tell you about now. So.
Excellent, thank you. Let's roll the video for another 3 minutes. While the technical difficulty resolves itself, this is clearly a conversation to have. We won't have all the answers this morning. We want to prompt you to talk to your colleagues, to talk to your younger colleagues, students you know, so the profession can expand the breadth and depth of actuaries in super. Now, we've got in the meantime, I'm going to reverse the order a little bit because we might have to. Have we got anything going up the back? No. I'm going to ask each of the panel members, what's the most exciting thing you've ever done in super? Just a quick, or can we ask that while we're waiting on the video, or does that follow the video?
Yeah, you can ask it now.
Okay.
Okay, sure. So a big focus of mine is to share superannuation with the younger generation and to help them understand and grow awareness of super. Now, working in Spaceship, our target market is mainly under 40s and with a sizable portion that are under 35 or 30s. So with the current market situation, a lot of those people are experiencing this for the first time in their adult lives. And for a lot of people, that's really scary. And from there, we've actually launched a wider educational communication piece to not only explain what superannuation is, but also to explain how super connects with what's happening around them, and also to lift the financial literacy of everyone. And so for me, that connects superannuation, that connects member engagement, because we need to communicate them in a way that engages these younger members from 18 to 30-year-old. And it also connects financial literacy. So this has been a great all-encompassing project for me.
Great. Veronica, most exciting thing in super?
Well, I lead an investment team in one of the largest funds in the country, and
We travel extensively internationally, our research, our partners, our assets, our consultants. I've met Frank Sortino. He's got a formula named after him. The actual guy. I met Bob Merton a couple of times, and many other sort of world leaders in our field, right? And for a lone immigrant out of Africa who grew up in apartheid, super has given me that opportunity in this industry.
Fantastic. Ruby, your most exciting thing in super?
Oh. So in my current role at Spirit Super, I have the ability to run this innovation incubator. So as part of that, like we are, I guess the board and the executive team has given myself and my work colleague literally license to go and think differently. Don't worry about what the existing fund is doing. Think about the ways that you could really change the whole experience for our members. And that just gives you that freedom, sort of that blank canvas view to go and try something new and different. And that's been just fascinating.
Fantastic. Now, pass the mic back to Naomi if we can. Just limited to 2 mics at this end. We just do a bit of baton passing. Naomi, what's exciting?
My most exciting thing ever was actually when I signed a letter to the Rio Tinto board saying that we weren't happy that they'd blown up the Jilkin Caves and we weren't happy with their response, and would the chair and the CEO please resign, and then seeing them resign the next day, because that was the first time I kind of got that feeling, because we knew that our members whose money we were investing were deeply unhappy about that incident, and we knew that they weren't happy with the response. We knew it wasn't good for Rio's value, that it was catastrophic. We knew the response wasn't enough. But actually seeing that as a super fund, we could intermediate between what was the right thing to do and protecting our members' financial interests, but also effect change within a company that was doing the wrong thing and destroying shareholder value, I suddenly got it, how important superannuation is.
What an incredibly diverse set of 4 answers there, from dealing with young people to dealing with major corporations. It's just fantastic to see the diversity. And if I might just chip in, many of you would know we do the Global Pension Index now in its 14th year, and some of that comparison internationally is very exciting when you get up to do a presentation in places like the US Senate or Australia House, to just recognise globally that the pension industry is not just in Australia. What we are doing here is a global issue and a global problem with lots of global issues. So just picking up some of the previous session on, what is the right thing to do? There's lots of really interesting questions in that space. Okay, ready to roll with the video. We're going to run for about 5 minutes or 6 minutes here to do 2 sections together. We hope. Right.
An incubator at Spirit Super.
Hi, my name is Trish Donahue.
Hi, my name is Niharika and I work at Australian Retirement Trust as a relationship manager.
So what excites me about my job? Well, I didn't know too much about super until I started working in super, and that's when I realized that we might be the industry's best kept secret. Now, I think sharing is caring. Here, you can keep this. I love to share. But now I want to share super with everyone. For the general public, it's probably one of the largest investments people will make in their life. For actuaries, it's an industry that combines so many of the other areas of work, like investments, insurance, data. You get the idea.
Now, I've been very fortunate to be able to work in this industry and understand and make decisions over time in areas as diverse as investments, product design, technology and digital enhancements, branding, communicating to fund members and employers, as well as presenting to and persuading companies and fund boards. The ability to be so broad has been a huge plus for me.
I have the opportunity with my work at Challenger and as part of various Actuaries Institute committees to influence and improve how industry views retirement, designing products to provide retirees with financial confidence and security in their retirement, and to educate and empower financial advisors to use models that take account of risk when making recommendations for their clients.
I'm a facilitator for the Australian Institute of Company Directors, and there's a 5-day residential course here this week with a group of directors trying to learn how to be better directors. And often on these courses we get for-profit and not-for-profit directors, including trustees of very large superannuation funds.
I've more recently also had the privilege of leading the design, development and implementation of the new Q-Super Lifetime Pension. Superannuation consists of many components that involve sophisticated data management and analytics, from investment management, product design, reserving, insurance, reporting, member engagement, communications, etc., etc. Now, actuaries, by their very nature, are trained to solve complex problems. And superannuation gives you the opportunity to specialise in any one of these fields or get involved in the industry more broadly.
And I've worked in the superannuation industry for over 30 years. For 17 of those years, I led the investment team at CBUS, and more recently, I was a trustee director on the board of Tasplan Super.
Whether that's through our investments and insurance work, our public policy work, our financial modelling, our regulatory compliance and risk management, customer engagement using financial calculators and tools. More recently, lots of M&A work, helping clients manage their data better, and even some remediation projects. Lots of work in product design, and lately a lot of work happening in the retirement space and advice. There's lots of things to do in superannuation, and there are many ways you can help.
Now, in my current role at Spirit Super, I have this really exciting opportunity to run an innovation incubator and really change the way that we operate the fund, really think differently and challenge the status quo.
It's an exciting high change area. There's a huge regulatory impost on super funds. They have to now hold capital. There's a high change environment, so it's really exciting and fast moving. And super funds really need actuaries. They're large, complex organisations. They need to better manage their risks and opportunities. And as actuaries, we're perfectly placed to help them do that. So come and work in super. It's a fantastic career.
Okay, so I think we now do a little bit on super is huge. So we'll keep the video going. Seem to be having a few hiccups there. Super is, here we go.
Super funds are massive financial institutions now. They hold a core part of the Australian economy. They're bigger than the banking sector, and they are a major investor in Australia and overseas. So they're really significant financial institutions.
Now, the course covers the sorts of things you'd expect, legal and statutory responsibilities, but it also covers things about decision making. And we've seen examples in the press where large for-profit organisations have made decisions at board level that no individual will be stupid enough to make on their own. And so an important objective of the course is to empower directors to understand their rights and responsibilities and to make decisions that are good decisions. And superannuation fund trustees make decisions, important decisions for individuals, the members of the funds, and also for society as a whole.
After working in the industry for a few years, I realized that superannuation is an industry that touches pretty much every working Australian's life, from students starting their first job to people looking forward to a peaceful retirement. And there is an opportunity to help a lot of people if I can make a positive impact.
I think super is a really exciting industry to work in because it is growing and always changing. There is more money flowing into superannuation from contributions than there is money flowing out in benefits to members. So this growth means you get to think about new strategies for investing, and enables you to be more innovative in your strategy.
I work in the investments team at the newly created fund, where we are responsible for managing over $200 billion of assets on behalf of more than 2 million Australians.
And the reason is that just here in Australia, superannuation funds are in charge of allocating capital for over $3 trillion. And allocating capital means that you actually make enormous and exciting and powerful ethical decisions every day.
All right, we'll just hold that there, I think. I'm just going to ask a couple of the panel members. Firstly, Bernick, if you've got these members, our colleagues here, work in different sorts of areas in the super industry. So, Bernick, what's it like working in that new mega fund, ART?
Well, probably the simplest way to put it is you can't get involved in everything, right? So the very large super funds that I'm involved in creates a form of specialization. So we have actuaries in our insurance team, we have actuaries in our product team, and I work in the investments team. So the very large fund is probably one or more of specialization in one of the fields.
Sure. Let's flip that the other way to Christine. You're working in what I'll call a disruptor fund or a new fund. What's it like there and what opportunities are there?
Yeah, so being in a much smaller fund, a scale up, it's almost the opposite of what Bernick was saying. You get to work in a much broader area of work, and sometimes you have to. And so for more actuarial focused areas, you have to be part of setting up, maintaining insurance. You get very involved with risk and compliance. You get very involved with data and interpreting data. And outside of that, you still have to be very involved with marketing for educational content. You have to be very involved with customer success to really understand your members. It's a lot to do, and it's just you have to work over a broader area of work.
That's fantastic. I think that just gives you a little small snapshot of the diversity of the work that even two people are doing. Let's roll the video again. Super can change the world, it tells me.
When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a politician because I thought, well, that's how I will change the world for the better. But now I work in superannuation, and I've realised that working in super means I have an even better chance to save the world for good.
So I've been working in investment management now for about 20 years, and I still find it fascinating every day. It's an exciting area to work in. We're always trying to challenge the markets, we're trying to challenge what other people are thinking. So I guess what it really boils down to is this idea of a debate, a discussion, and the forward-looking nature of it, dealing with uncertainty and trying to anticipate where the future might be. I often joke that watching the news is boring because it's something that we've often discussed sometime in advance. And the question about, how does this change the world? I think, look, at the end of the day, everyone is forced to be an investor. We have savings and we have to put them aside for our retirement.
So my mission, what excites me about the job, is to empower these directors to make better decisions for society.
It also means you get to focus on the long term and look for really good, sustainable companies and assets that will continue to provide good returns into the future. So that's why working in super excites me. It's growing, it's innovative, and it's thinking about the future.
While there have been significant changes within super over the past couple of decades, I have no hesitation in saying that it remains a wonderful industry in which to work. And it will continue to grow for many decades. And it's so good to work in a vibrant, growing industry, and one that helps improve the financial security of so many Australians.
Because every day we're trying to figure out how do we make the most money for our members, but how do we do that in a way that doesn't have horrific risks or consequences or really bad outcomes for people. It's an amazing and privileged job. Come and join a super fund, change the world, allocate capital, make huge decisions that affect the future of the planet. Thank you.
Okay, we're just going to stop it there. And Naomi, how are super funds influencing society? You've mentioned one already, but I'm sure there are others.
I'm sure because most people here work in the super industry, you all would have seen the proxy advice debate that happened where suddenly the government really wanted to curtail the activities of proxy advice firms, and in particular they wanted to close down AXI, which is the proxy advice firm that advises industry super funds. Now, given that was like literally one of the biggest and only pieces of legislation and policy they actually brought into Parliament at the start of the year, you might kind of go, why? Like, why weren't they bringing free dental health for people or whatever? Like, why were they bringing this legislation to ban a privately contracted outsourced consulting firm that some super funds use? And you can only think that they're not stupid, and they kind of realised, oh, super funds are actually starting to engage with the corporations that they own and starting to do annoying things like bug the Rio Tinto board. And they thought, because of their ideology, we've got to stop this. And so I think that kind of proves that super funds are obviously rattling some cage. The fact that the government's number one priority was to stop us hiring a consultant to help us make decisions about how we vote, because active ownership, which is what we call it, is so, you know, is growing so much.
Indeed. Other members of the panel, how do you see your fund influencing society?
Actually, where did you get that question, David? Probably short and sweet. Close to heart for me at the moment is our pension product that we designed, and perhaps an opportunity to sort of spill a bit of my personal opinion here. A previous boss of mine once challenged me, and he said, "This is all your fault, you actuaries, right?" He said, "You created DB funds, and then everything went well because you know what the problem is. You know it's an asset liability problem, so that's why you created DB funds. Then what you did is you went and helped all the employers get out of their risks and their costs, right? And you created DC funds, and then you walked away." And he created this like genuine moral obligation. He said, "You actuaries have to stand up and be counted. You've created this risk transfer from employers to members to individuals who are least capable of managing that risk. The same problem exists, and it's a problem of spreading consumption, and that is what super is. It's just the funding mechanism changed, and who bears the risks." And he, I mean, a bit tongue-in-cheek, but he said, "You walked away from your obligation. You created this problem, you better stand up and fix it."
And you've been partly, your recent roles help fix that with your latest pooled product, at least in part. Either of them? No. Okay, let's roll the video for the last little bit. Super can help all of us.
The reason I am working in super is because I am very passionate about making sure that people live their best lives, particularly in retirement. So retirement can be a very vulnerable time in people's lives. You know, you've spent all your life working and earning income, and suddenly that all stops, and you don't know, you've got all the time in the world, but you know, sometimes you don't have all the money. So my passion about super and why I joined is to make sure that people have both the freedom and the money to live as they would like in retirement. I've seen how hard my parents worked, and obviously lots of people's parents, how hard they have worked over their lifetimes, and so all I want for them is to be able to live as they want after they retire.
As actuaries working in super, we have the opportunity to apply our skills to the benefit of all Australians. The problem in Australia is retirement is complex, and at retirement, retirees need to make lots of decisions like what to invest in, what risk are they willing to take, how can they pay an income for the rest of their life, what lifestyle do you want? And this is complex because there are so many uncertainties. How can we be confident of making the right choice? With so much uncertainty, actuaries are very well placed to help retirees with their decision making in light of these risks. This is how my job changes the world.
And I just wanted to let you know that I feel so privileged to work in superannuation. I've always loved working with my clients to help understand what their goals and objectives are and what their priorities are in the coming years. But a few years back, I sat down and thought about what my own purpose was in life, in my work life especially. And it was clear that my real passion was to help more Australians to enjoy a better retirement. And working in superannuation gives me a great platform to do that.
It's really important. It makes a huge difference to the average Australian's life, given our super's our second biggest asset after our family home, and the thing that will see us through the third phase of our life, which may be nearly as long as our working life.
So in my job, and why I chose this job, is because I get to work directly with members and employers for to let them understand the importance of contributing to their super. It's not necessarily a sexy thing, pretty much, especially when you're young, because you've got 1,000 other things to spend your money on. But just really helping them understand the ways that you can grow your super, even if you are on a lower income. You might be working very hard, but if you are earning not as much money, you probably don't have as much to put away in super. But just my job is to really help people understand how important it is to have put that money away for retirement, and just ways that you're able to do that. So yeah, it's a very exciting field. I know a lot of people it might not seem to be, but it's a great field where you can certainly for me, I feel like I am making a direct impact in lots of people's lives in a very positive way. So that's why I work in super.
Superannuation is the retirement income system established in Australia to assist ordinary people to solve the nastiest, hardest problem in finance, which is how to spread lifetime consumption. Countries across the globe have adopted different ways in which they are approaching this same problem. And being involved in super gives you the opportunity to compare and contrast and learn and contribute on a global scale.
And so if you believe, as I guess I do believe, that we have a skill and we can use that skill to help other people, then effectively what we're doing is looking after people's well-being and helping to provide them with better retirements than they would otherwise have. And I think that's a noble cause.
I'm super keen to help young Australians understand the super, even if they don't work in the industry. We're working on building features and creating content that can get these young Australians more engaged in the super. In super, we're able to help so many navigate their financial landscape. And as actuaries, we're able to bring such a diverse skill set into the industry. And that's why my job excites me.
Excellent. Thank you. Good little snapshots from a range of our members. A couple of questions to our colleagues on the panel, then I'm going to turn to your questions that you've already put in. So Ruby and Christine, since you didn't answer the last question, this is your chance now. Ruby, how do you feel you help individuals' lives?
Yeah, I think I just want to take a little story as to how I got into actuarial and what sort of led to me working in a not-for-profit organization. So when I first started working, I worked for an actuarial consultancy firm in Tasmania called Benzal Actuarial. We were doing actuarial certificates, not sexy actuarial work, but what it allowed me to do was actually be at the front end talking to members, so talking to our clients. And when I was listening to these members who are like sort of retired members, the problems that they had, the trouble that they had of getting advice, not being able to trust financial advisors, and not being able to find any information or guidance to help them, really stuck with me. And I was like, we as actuaries, or I as an actuary, I felt like there's something that I can do here to help these members, because I felt like a personal obligation there, because I felt there were a lot of people that I'm talking to that didn't understand the product that they were in. And it was a product in the SMSF, but it was complicated, and they didn't know where to turn to, and there wasn't any information. So it got me thinking more, and it actually helped me set a purpose for my career, saying this is what I want to do, and I want to help Australians to understand more about their superannuation and help them have a more comfortable retirement. So I think that experience has led me to where I am, and I'm very fortunate the opportunities that I get now in order to make that contribution.
Thanks, Ruby. Nothing like a personal experience to prompt the thinking. Christine?
Speaking from a younger generation perspective, there's a fast growing trend of being purpose driven, and that's being reflected in a lot of areas. So there's preferences on ESG investments, maybe it's female-led NFT projects, plant-based foods, sustainable clothing, and as younger generations grow more aware of their super, that's going to be what they want from their super funds as well. And so that's where we can come in, and as super funds, we can promote ideas and values that align with what we want to see the future. And even personally, my purpose is to share superannuation with the younger generation and to educate them about long-term investment and investing for the future and for their retirement.
Great. Now, you all know how to put questions in. So the questions have come in. So now the panel has not been prepared for these questions. So here we go. The first one from Tim, the chair of our Super Investments Practice Committee, SIPC. The tagline, Actuaries use data for good. So how are you using data in superannuation for good? Who'd like to tackle that one?
Okay, I'll go. When I was appointed at QSuper about a decade ago, there wasn't any MySuper legislation. There was actually nothing. There was only an act with Section 52 that placed a fiduciary duty on the trustee to invest other people's money. And my brief was, well, if we could do anything, what would we do? So the first thing I did was I appointed a PhD statistician. Let's call them a data scientist, right? And we copied the admin system, and we created the script that allowed us. Ooh, this is Chatham House rules. This one.
Yeah.
We created the script that allowed us to this day, on the last Saturday of every month, it runs overnight and it copies the admin system, the whole system, like all hundreds of thousands of records, transactions, switches. So we now have a sort of a 10-year longitudinal database where we can start following cohorts as opposed to at point in time. So ironically, even though I work in the investments team, the data that we use is the membership data. So it's the actual trying to see, well, if you're going to invest other people's money, you'd want to know who they are, and that's probably the abstract or objective information we can gather.
Great, excellent. That's the 5-minute bell. We may not get through all these questions coming in. The one that's got a couple of ticks beside it. With the slow demise of DB, the career path for a student starting their actual journey is less obvious in super than in other industries. How can we overcome this?
That's the heart of the question, isn't it? So there's no regulated thing, and the reason why there was only 2 students is because when they had the careers day and everything at the unis, no super fund went and talked to them. And life insurers went, and consultants, Affinity, Quantum, everyone went, but no super fund went. It wasn't even part of the conversation. And so therefore, I don't even know how those 2 people came through. It's a miracle. And the good news is that the syllabus has been changed. Like the Actuaries Institute has taken all the DB stuff out, and there's now a really exciting fund syllabus, which is brand new, and it talks about amazing things like ESG inside super, member outcomes, amazing new product development, and member experience journeys. If you were a super fund and you saw somebody had those things and they'd actually studied it, it would be like, my gosh, that takes away 2 or 3 years of training for me to get this person up to speed. I will grab that person and put them in charge of a massive team, and they'll be like, awesome. So at the moment, what we have though is just a big gap, because the super funds don't know that. They have no idea that we have this amazing course that's training all their people. The people at uni don't know that this course is actually really cool and interesting. No triangle, no glim, just straight into really amazing, interesting, new crazy ideas and incubator hubs and amazing member experience journeys and so on. So there's a total information gap, and there's a gap. So I think the Actuaries Institute probably has to roll up the sleeves and bring those people together. So at Spirit Super, I talked to our head of people and culture and said, why don't you advertise through the Actuaries mag and attract some actuaries? And she was like, why? What do actuaries know about super? I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Your chair is super, your head of incubator is an actuary, but they didn't even really kind of know that. So we've got a big job to, and all of us here who work in super funds can be part of that journey. But I think the Institute has to get those people in front of the unis.
Excellent, excellent. Now I'll just point out to everybody, Naomi's president next year, and now senior vice president. We've got Tim Jenkins here, chairman of the SRPC. So if you've got any ideas, here they are today, give them their ideas. I'm going to ask the panel one more question, because I don't have a clear answer to this one. Not that I did for some of the others either. If super funds don't provide sufficient leave to pass fellowship exams, the actual graduates may not keep studying. Can we convince, I'll say, non-traditional actuarial employers, if you like, or super funds to pay study leave for their actuarial employees?
So when I joined Testplan, I was the first actuary to be employed by Testplan. So I had to go through this experience at Testplan. So essentially, the study policy gave 3 study days for anyone who's studying an exam. So I had to talk to the HR team and convince them that normally someone studying actuarial gets 10 to 12 study days per exam. So the team and the HR team was very forthcoming, and they actually gave me and changed the entire policy to accommodate me and give me that additional. So I don't think it's cross-sectional, and I think if the funds are willing, and I think most funds are, they will obviously change their policies to provide.
So we've got a precedent. You've set the road. Thanks, Ruby. Can I ask you to thank the panel this morning for a great session?